Welcome back to our channel and welcome back to YouTube. I hope you are all well here on the channel, and in today's video tutorial for discussion today and of a question that was given to me from Rebecca here on the channel, we're going to talk a little bit about bad guides. Now, many people, and as you probably, even if you've been watching or following the channel now for a little while, I've been talking a little bit more about guides, understanding guides and what their purposes are. But the one thing that isn't always talked about is the terminology we use is bad guides. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of explanatories. We're going to look at the intelligence. We're going to look at it from my intelligence, because as a medium, I've always got my spiritual intelligence or my knowledge. Remember, we are all with our own spiritual intelligence and knowledge, and some of this that I talk about here may not quite resonate with you, and that's okay. But I'll always try to use the spiritual intelligence that I have been given from the spirit world to help us better understand this terminology or this labeling. Now, when we talk about bad, straight away it's a label, and that's going to make you think, ooh, something's not quite right there, bad, negative, straight away the mind starts firing off all over the place, it's looking for, anything sort of remotely that's going to line up with that terminology. But what we really need to understand is that there is nothing actually bad in the spirit world, and that includes bad guides. What we may get and what will happen is everything has knowledge, no matter how small of that intelligence. Now, when we talk about intelligence, what we're really talking about is knowledge. That's really what we're talking about. In every living soul, every deceased soul, every soul that's within the spiritual realms, whether it be animal, whether it be human, whether it be plant, all has a certain level of intelligence, regardlessly of whether they continue to grow and evolve with knowledge in the spirit world, or they've gained knowledge and things down here on the earth world. Everything has knowledge. So when people talk to me about bad guides, what we really need to do is put the word terminology bad to one side. And what we really need to look at is, where is the intelligence of that particular energy? Where is it? Where is that knowledge? Now, every guide has to have some kind of intelligence, some knowledge. Now, what tends to happen is when guides choose. Now, we have to remember here, we want to use this word free will, and I am going to be doing a video on free will. Free will is an ability of us as the instrument. Every human living this world or walking this earth plane, and every spirit within the spiritual world all has free will. Now, free will is a free thing that allows you to pick and choose what you want. And that includes when certain said spirits choose to become guides. They choose to do that particular said task for the spirit world. And each guide has knowledge in specific areas. Now, I have talked about this quite a lot. Some guides have very low knowledge base, so they may have only gained the basics, but enough to take that mind as far as it needs to go. There will be other guides who have done extensive knowledge, or have done a bit like sort of when we're a medium. So you have the beginner, you're aware, you have knowledge, you understand it, but you don't understand it completely. And that's a bit like in the spiritual world. So there's a guide who has certain said knowledge. Then there is the intermediate, the more professional, a guide who has quite extensive knowledge, has worked with different minds, has worked on different sort of communicators, different loved ones within the spiritual world. And then we have the advanced. And the advanced is people who have done extensive knowledge in said areas, or have a vast knowledge in all areas. Now, what we have to understand here is every guide is always learning, growing and evolving, just like us mediums, us instruments is the best way to put it. So we're all learning, growing and evolving, and every guide is doing exactly the same. Every guide has the ability to keep learning and evolving and growing through knowledge, because every medium is different. Every medium is unique. Every medium is an individual, as is said guide or any guide that works for a medium. Now, within this terminology of question in which that Rachel gave me, Rachel asked me, what is a bad guide? So let's just put the terminology, there is no said bad guide, there isn't. What happens is when we're first newbie mediums, we're also on that searchable path for a said guide for whatever reasons. Now again, we're getting into the terminology of doorkeepers, gatekeepers, main guides, you know, whatever it is that we want to put that label to. When we start and look at guides from a perspective of just energy or knowledge of energy, you'll find that is the more experienced or the more knowledgeable medium, you will start to look at it from that. When we first start out as the beginner and stuff, we like the terminology, we like the labels. It's easier for your mind to accept. And this is what I talk about all of the time here on the channel, that in the beginning we need a lot of structure as mediums. We need these labels, we need this terminology. As you start to move further and further down that path, the labels sort of drift away. You become more allowing and more accepting, if this makes sense. But what does happen and can happen when we first start working as the medium, and as we're doing communicators, because we do communications in the beginning, we're understanding energy, we're working with the spiritual realms. Sometimes loved ones can get caught up as guides, and because we haven't questioned this guide enough, or we haven't questioned this individual enough, what can happen is, and I have seen this and I do know what goes on, we invite the loved ones in and then think that the guides, now the loved ones aren't going to do you any harm, there's no question about that, but they're not going to do what a guide's going to do, because guides are completely different scenario to obviously what the loved ones are. So when newbie mediums are first starting out, it's really important, one, that you understand energy. It's the biggest thing that I can tell you is here on the channel, is understanding energy, psychic energy versus mediumistic energy. They're always an overlapping, but when you know the difference, I can't tell you that. Nobody can. There's nobody in this industry can tell you what that energy feels like. That's something that you're going to learn for yourself. So what happens is learning to understand energy is a biggie when you're first starting out. And then from that, the enhancement comes of learning to understand different energies. So what the loved ones feel like, what these guides feel like, and it's or what they look like. You've got to remember, we're not just working feeling vibration here. We've got sight coming in, hearing coming in, we've got a knowing coming in. Whatever clairs are working for you is the best way I can put it to you. And for me, it's really important as the lady who shares knowledge to knowledging you on understanding about this intelligence and understanding the knowledge of these particular guides. Now, you may have heard certain guides disappear. That's something else I've heard, that disappear, or they sort of step away from the team. What has actually happened is you pulled your mind away, or you are advancing is the instrument. Remember, guides only have a said knowledge, and some guides only want to stay at that knowledge. They don't want to grow anymore, and that's a free will choice. So what then happens is new guides will start to advance in order with extra knowledge for you to take your mind to the next step. The one guide that you've maybe getting right at the very beginning has all the knowledge you need going further forward, or that guide may stay with you, but then other guides may come in and feed knowledge in through that guide. It depends on the setup, one, of your mind, two, of how the spirit world's working with you, because every medium is unique. No two said mediums are the same, so everybody's going to be doing it differently. And this is where I talk about your spiritual intelligence, your spiritual knowledge, because what you know now will be very different to what you know in 5 years' time. I'm a prime example of that. What I knew 6 years ago is massively different to what I know now, because I've worked more extensively with the spirit world. I've worked with different individuals. I've looked at different insights. I've, whatever it is that I've done in order to enhance my knowledge. So we're all on this journey. And when we look at it from that parameters, in the same with the guides in the spirit world, we become very aware that there isn't bad guides. It's just that, one, you may have caught a loved one in as a guide and not realised that. Two, we've got to look at the fear. That's another step we need to look at. So in the beginning, the beginner isn't aware as much of the energy as we talked about. They are still sort of a little nervous. There's still a lot of sort of, I love beginners. I've got to be honest, they're my favourite of all when I'm sharing knowledge, because their mind is just soaking everything up, and they haven't built in any fear parameters, and they haven't had really any bad experiences, whether that be through, their particular mindset. They bumped into certain individuals who sort of knocked them off their path a little, because that does go on from time to time, unfortunately, in the industry. And there's nothing, if anything, that's going to teach you things. At the time it won't, but, further down the line it will. So beginners I love beginners, I've got to be honest. And they have a great one for curiosity. They have a great love for learning, is probably the best way I can put it. And what you have to understand with is that the beginner doesn't have a great deal of fear. They don't have a great deal of resistance. The mind's not resisting the knowledge or the spirit world trying to get in. As we progress further down the line, we're pushed to produce better evidence. We're pushed to, be this certain way in the industry, whatever it may be, and we can start building sort of, parameters and fears. And then also we've got to think about the instrument and where the instrument is and how that instrument is working as well, because obviously all instruments are bringing something to the table, some of their own triggers, their own spiritual journey, and that can all bring in sets of fears when we're working with the spirit world or when we're searching for guides. So what we've really got to understand when we're working with this terminology of bad guides, one, making sure that you understand energy, so you know the difference between said guide and a loved one. Where is your mind in respect of fear, and how is your mind triggered, or how is your mind working, and is your mind projecting said fear to this particular guide or this particular energy? Because what we have to understand as well with guides is every day that you're going into the spirit world as a medium. I have said guides. Some days I don't see them at all. Other days I hear them. Other days I feel them. It just depends on where my mind is within them parameters. And it's very same for you as well. We have a great caught up in clairvoyance. We must see this guide. This guide's got to be this particular way. And there's a great sense of structure there in the very beginning. And as we start, the mind starts to release and lets go and starts to sort of, accept more is probably the best way. We don't become so caught up on these labels and seeing it. These types of things, we become more accepting of the spirit world will present in the way that's most easiest for your mind at that said given day or certain particular time that you're going to sit or work with spirit world, whatever it may be there. So in the beginning, a lot of it, as much as it pains me to say this, a lot of it is the actual medium, the instrument. The instrument's still trying to fathom it out. It's still trying to release their triggers. It's still trying to work out the energy. And because you don't understand that energy quite well, you're sort of fear-based a little bit because of it, because it feels a little different, or it looks a little different, or it wasn't presenting itself the way it was the last time. But do we know that the spirit world will always present themselves in the way that you need them to in the beginning? As you move further down the path, the spirit world's going to push your mind to accept and allow more. So it's making it easier for you to do your work with the guides, communications, whatever it may be there. And remember, every guide has knowledge in some capacity. Some knowledge may not be as strong as you want it to be. Other knowledge will be overly powering. Some will be too low for you. And it's just about you finding the right guides for your mind. Now, what you have to also understand here as well, we've got to work with that intelligence again. So here comes the intelligence. The spirit world always knows what's best. And I'll tell you as a little story. So maybe about 3 years ago, I wasn't as clairaudient as I am now. And, names are a big thing in the industry, as many of you know, and probably I didn't know as much then as I do now. So I'd gone to the spirit world and I said, look, I really like to get these names in, da-di-da, da-di-da, and all the rest of it. And within about 2 weeks, my whole mediumship changed, right? And I went to the spirit world. I was like, what's going on? Like, what's happening here? Do you know what I mean? And forgetting that I'd said to the spirit world, I'd like to try these names and, da-di-da-di-da. And because names, a lot of names do come in clairaudiently. Some mediums do say them clairvoyantly written, maybe on signposts, whatever it may be. But the majority of names will come in clairaudiently. And, I was just like, I fought them for about 6 months. I was like, you need to put it back in the way, it needs to go back the way it was. And, all these types of things. And then eventually accepted, I just allowed, and the rest is, it was history. And you know, but for 6 months I fought them. And you know, us as mediums, we will fight change because we're so comfortable in the place we sit. We don't think that, you know, we want to progress, but in the same token we're like, no, you know. And every instrument is going to have a sort of restriction in some way, and you've got to accept and understand that the spirit world do know what guides are best for you at that time. There isn't no such thing as bad guides. What it probably is an interference of your mind and the fears and the parameters that you have around that, but also making sure that you're not inviting loved ones in and you are actually inviting guides in. A little tip I can give you here with this one is send the guide back. So I normally, if I've got a new guide, I'll be aware of them, I'll look at them, I'll look them up and down, have a bit chat, and then send them away. And if they come back, then, you know, I send them away again, and they come back again the third time, then I accept them, you know, and then I also have a discussion with the team that I already have. So that's a little hint and tip I can give you there with connections to that, so that you can maybe work with that one a little bit more and see how that one works for you. This video is a little bit longer because it's such a big topic. You know, I could probably talk a lot more about, you know, this particular said topic, but for the purposes in which Rebecca's question was, is there such a thing as bad guides? The answer in short to that question is no. And they hopefully, using the intelligence and using the stories and things, I've been able to express that to you so that you understand that a little bit more. Try not to, you know, push this one. Try to work on your insecurities and your triggers, and be aware that, you know, things can and do and will get better every time you work for the spirit world, if you're allowing and if you're accepting. So in this video, we've talked about bad guides. You know, I hope it's been informative. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts and feelings in respect to the comments box. You know, give it a like up, you know, share it around with friends. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. I have a live coming up on Sunday. So if you're free and available, certainly do join us around about 7:30 UK time. Yeah, obviously, that's British Standard Time for you lot. For anywhere else in the world, you may have to Google that one there. That's no shout out for Google, I've got to be honest. It's just the easiest way to find it. Have a great day. I love you lots here on the channel, as does the spirit world. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see them on Sunday, if not next week. Bye for now.